Alright, today I'm going to be showing you how to flush coolant on a Yamaha Grizzly 550. This is going to be the same procedure as the 700. As you see here, we've got the fenders off. You don't actually need to do that for this step, but you will need to pull your left-hand side cover off, and then as well as your right hand on the other side. We've got the footwell off. There's actually conveniently a nice groove in your footwell to allow you to do this procedure without removing that, and also the skid plate. It's just a whole lot cleaner if you take that off at this point. You've got a handful of 10mm bolts to remove that, and it's just a lot cleaner if you go ahead and do that. First thing you're going to want to do is grab an 8mm wrench here, or a socket, and remove your water pump drain bolt, and that's down here directly below, well, real close to your dipstick here. It's going to be down here. It's got a brass washer on it. And it's the exact one that I'm pointing at here. There's a handful of 8mm. It is the one with the larger brass washer on it. And that is something that if it's damaged at all, you want to replace it. Otherwise, it's going to continually leak on you. So we've got the 8mm nut. We're going to go ahead and break that loose. And as soon as you do that, as soon as you loosen it up, you will start to have coolant drip out of there. Now, it's not actually going to flow a whole lot until you remove the radiator cap. So we're going to hold our drain pan up here for now and pull that drain bolt. It's going to squirt out a little bit and then just kind of trickle out of there. Now what we're going to do is loosen the cap. You see me loosen the cap on the radiator, and it's going to shoot out, straight out, and there's quite a bit of pressure in there, and it'll drain like that for a while. You can leave your cap off, and you'll have about 2 quarts of fluid come out of here, or at least you should. We're going to continue to let that drain there. What that's doing is draining your radiator, and then you've got lines of coolant coming from your radiator, and then also coming from your thermostat area, or excuse me, in front of your cylinder there, connected to your cylinder, and then that'll gradually slow down. Now the next thing, if you go on the other side, well, we'll let this finish drain here, and then I'll show you the other side. You can just let that drain out now at this time. And we've got your overflow tank here, your reservoir. You want to make sure you drain that out. So you've got a line on the bottom here. So what you can do is remove it up at your radiator. That way you've got some line here to take down to your drain pan. So you just take and loosen that up. Now a lot of times we'll kind of stick to that radiator, because this radiator does get extremely hot. So it kind of welds itself to the radiator. If you made a hole in this hose doing that, make sure you replace that hose, because you do not want that to be leaking. And then you just drain that fluid out, and we don't have very much in that coolant reservoir. So we're going to go ahead and hook that up at this time, and then make sure your clamp gets put on as well. Now we're going to go to the right hand side of the four-wheeler. We're going to let that continue to drain there. I'm going to take you around to the right hand side. And on this side, we've got our bleeder valve. Your bleeder valve is there's a clutch boot that goes up, or a clutch duct that goes up, just like this, right above your clutch assembly. We've got our clutch assemblies off to show you a video on those. So you don't actually have to pull your clutches to do this coolant flush, but you do need to remove this boot here. That'll allow you to get over here to this your thermostat area. Now what you do is grab an 8mm wrench again, and there's another 8mm with a brass washer fitting on this side. Once you pull that, you'll probably have a little more coolant drip out of your other side, and then you probably have a little bit of coolant come out of here. What's in these hoses coming from your radiator, and then what's in your thermostat area will drain out. Now you can leave this bleeder valve out, and you can leave it. They actually say you don't even have to remove it completely. So you can just loosen it. All you want is to get airflow through there. Now we're going to go to the other side, and the first thing that you're going to want to do is put this drain bolt back in your water pump. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in, and then we're going to take coolant. This should be done dripping by now. We're going to take coolant, and we're going to fill up our radiator. And in the end, it'll have about 2 quarts of coolant in that radiator, maybe a little bit more. We're going to fill that up. Now, when you get to about 1.5 quarts, you're going to start having, maybe a little bit more than that, you're going to start having coolant run out your bleeder valve that's on the other side, that's attached to your water pump. And what that does is drain all the air out of your lines and so that there's no air sitting in those lines. That's going to throw the four-wheeler off as far as your temperature. So as soon as coolant starts coming out of your bleeder on the other side, you're going to go ahead and finish filling this radiator up. You're going to fill this to the full mark. You don't want to go fuller than that full mark because you will have pressure and air and more coolant come into this reservoir and be sucked out of here at some point if you're running low on coolant. So you want to make sure you're not above the full mark and you don't want to be below the low mark. So finish filling up your radiator, then you're going to start your four-wheeler. Don't put your radiator cap on yet. You can let your four-wheeler run for about 10 minutes. During those 10 minutes you can rev it up a couple times and you need to add more coolant too. A lot of times as soon as you start your four-wheeler you'll suck more coolant through your lines and you'll need more coolant in there. As soon as you let it run for about 10 minutes you can put your cap on and you should be all set to ride. I suggest if you're a first timer riding, go ahead and double check to make sure that your coolant level is where it needs to be. So that is a coolant flush on a Yamaha Grizzly 550. If you've got questions or comments, make sure you leave those below. If you've liked this video, please subscribe and like and share this video. We've got hundreds of other videos on our channel. Make sure you check those out. Thanks for watching.